Bipolar disorder versus EUPD. Now, the symptoms of EUPD can cross over into bipolar disorder, but there's some very distinct differences between the two. So what I thought I'd do, as I have bipolar disorder type 1 with psychosis and I've just been recently diagnosed with EUPD, I thought I'd make a quick video just literally to run down through the symptoms of each disorder so that you get some idea of what's going on between the two and how they differ from each other. So I'll start off with what I know best, and that's bipolar disorder, and I'm just going to read a list of my symptoms. I'm not using the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which is a DSM-5, which is the latest diagnosis manual for psychiatrists and psychologists to use. I'm just going through my own personal experiences. So to have an official diagnosis, you have to meet the criteria of the DSM-5. So without further ado, we'll go through bipolar. I'm just going to read from my list. So you get paranoid delusions, delusions of grandeur, extreme happiness, extreme energy, no need to sleep, racing thoughts, rapid speech or pressured speech, highly distracted, goal-related obsessions and focus, high sex drive, promiscuity, and reckless behaviour like spending all of your money or driving recklessly and stuff like that. Now, that's the manic side of bipolar disorder, and usually an episode of mania lasts at least a week or sometimes more. In my case, I usually get hypermanic for about 4 months, and if I do go into full-blown mania, it normally lasts a week or two. And then you have euthymic, which is a normal mood, which everybody has. Every person that isn't diagnosed with bipolar disorder will experience euthymic moods. And then you get bipolar depression. And with that, you would have self-harm ideation or suicidal ideation, anxiety, irritability, a change in appetite, no energy, feel worthless, need to sleep like hours and hours and hours on end. You can't make decisions, you feel sad and despair, you feel hopeless, useless and isolated. So those are my symptoms of bipolar disorder. Now with EUPD, a lot of them cross over. So for example, I would have highly distracted, goal-related obsessions and focus. So I can goal obsess. I get irritability, rage, which is sometimes explosive, and that means that I can go from, say, being quite calm and passive to all of a sudden my buttons being pushed and I explode into extreme, unprovoked rage. Which is not of the normal scale. You know, sometimes when your child's naughty, or sometimes you get really angry with that child, and you might chastise them. I'm talking like somebody does something silly, like makes a cup of tea instead of coffee, and I'll explode into rage. It's that kind of sensitivity. Emotional breakdown, so you could all of a sudden start crying for no reason. Intense fear about anything. Now that's quite a hard one to explain. With EUPD, you fear abandonment all of the time. And so you will fear, for example, having an argument with your partner or loved ones because you fear that what you might say or do will lead them to push you away, and then you get those fears of abandonment, like you're going to get kicked out of the house, like your relationship's going to end, like your best friend's going to leave you forever and never talk to you again. So you have fears about everything. And then you get guilt, obviously, when you have like an explosive rage outburst, for argument's sake. Then you get intense fears of guilt, and you can get guilt as well through putting Marmite on toast instead of jam. You've made something for your loved one, you've made some breakfast for them, and they might not like something you've made, and then you get this intense fear of guilt. Lack of self-worth, that's self-explanatory. Self-harm ideation or action. Suicidal ideation or action. Hyperactivity. Lack of sleep, sometimes 3 hours a night. Or too much sleep, 15 hours a night. Intense fear of abandonment, which I've explained. This is probably one of the main symptoms. You fear abandonment from everybody and anything. It's such a disturbing thought that it kind of dominates your everyday thinking, your all-day, everyday thinking. You're constantly living in fear of being left on your own. Intense arguing and lack of control. Now, what I mean by that is that you sometimes, although you might fear arguing and not want to argue and take the passive role, other times you can go into a rage and start arguing for no reason whatsoever, and you don't have any control over it. It just comes out of your mouth and you can't stop it. So the main difference between bipolar and EUPD is that EUPD symptoms, although similar to bipolar disorder symptoms, will happen whilst you're in a euthymic rhythm with bipolar. They'll happen whilst you're hypomanic, they'll happen whilst you're depressed as well, but they'll also occur during euthymic periods, and they can be categorized very simply as mood swings. Your mood will swing from intense lows to extreme highs to anywhere in the middle of that, and that can happen instantaneously. So throughout the day you may go through several different mood types in one day, in 1 hour. My mood can switch in a second. I can go from being happy to crying in the blink of an eye. I can go from being happy to rage in the blink of an eye. I can go from being happy to feeling guilty and fearing abandonment in the blink of an eye. And that is what I would describe as EUPD, emotionally unstable personality disorder, also called borderline personality disorder. Now, I understand psychiatrists changed the name of borderline personality disorder to emotionally unstable personality disorder to better describe the symptoms of borderline. When somebody says you've got borderline personality disorder, it can conjure up mixed messages of borderline of a personality disorder. You get me? So you're just on the borderline. It doesn't mean that at all, and that is why it's being recategorized now as emotionally unstable personality disorder, because basically we are emotionally unstable. We have no control over our emotions whatsoever. They just change like that, like that, like that, like that. So I hope this, you can just see my Christmas tree wiggling and waggling from whilst I'm moving in the background. I think my tree, let's have a look at my tree. Can you see my tree? Oh, there it is. Just about to see that. Yeah, that was quite hard for me to do this video for some reason. I don't know why, but I needed to do it. I needed to put it out there. I'd like to see more men talking about their symptoms, talking about their emotions, talking about what's going on with them when they have mental health related issues, or mental illness as I like to call it, because it's not health, is it? We're not mentally healthy or mentally unhealthy, we're mentally ill. So if you've got any questions, or if you'd like to just talk about your symptoms, get interactive, get in the comments section, tell me your experiences. I love to hear about your experiences, and I try my hardest to, answer every message that I get. Sometimes it's not possible, some messages slip through the net, but I do endeavour to answer as many as I can. If you'd like me to talk about a topic to do with EUPD or bipolar disorder, send me your question. I'm happy to make a video, talk about that particular topic that you want answering. So I'd just like to say it's nearly Christmas, so Merry Christmas to all my audience, Merry Christmas to all my subscribers, Merry Christmas to everyone out there. I don't know if I'll make a new video before Christmas, but if I do, this one's a Merry Christmas anyway. So thanks for watching, and please give a like, please subscribe if you're new to my channel. I make videos not as frequently as I was making them, because I'm still quite poorly, but as frequently as I can, usually at least 1 or 2 a month. So yeah, peace out guys.